Imagine someone walks right up to you today and just straight up tells you that almost everything you know is complete garbage.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Right. Like everything humanity has figured out about politics, economics, sociology, history,
Yeah.
and especially, all those best-selling books on how to be successful.
Oh, the self-help aisle.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
just telling you that all of it is just a massive collective distortion of reality.
It is an incredibly jarring claim, honestly, to say that unless you are studying the hard sciences,
Hmm?
like math, physics, chemistry, or biology, the accumulated knowledge of human history is essentially useless.
Useless for figuring out how to actually live.
Exactly. It just throws it all out the window.
It completely shatters this comforting illusion we have that human civilization is on this neat upward trajectory of wisdom. So, welcome to the deep dive. Today we are exploring a deeply radical essay titled Being a Human, Knowledge 3, authored by Shufeng on October 7th, 2022, and edited by Kinyu.
It's a heavy text.
It really is. And our mission for this deep dive is to explore this provocative framework for how to exist in the world. We want to figure out what it actually means for you listening right now.
Ah,
Think of us as your fellow students in this philosophical exploration because the source material does not hold back.
no, it systematically strips away almost everything we rely on to make sense of our society, our ambitions,
Right.
and just our daily choices.
Okay, let's unpack this. If human books and human knowledge are largely garbage that distort reality, what exactly are we supposed to be reading to figure out how to live? Do we just guess?
Well, not at all. The foundational concept here is what the author calls the book without words.
A book without words.
Right. The premise is that if you want to understand the true knowledge of being human, you have to read this wordless book instead of the ones printed on paper.
Which means what, practically?
It means observing and communicating with nature, having a direct dialogue with the universe, or what the text refers to as the greatest creator. You read the sky, the earth, the animals, the plants, and, just objective human phenomena around you.
Okay, but how does observing a plant replace a sociology textbook? I mean, what am I getting from a fern?
It really comes down to the underlying logic of deception. Humans deceive each other. We are driven by ego, bias, power dynamics.
Sure.
So human knowledge is often just this short-sighted, highly localized explanation of a specific era's cultural norms. But the universe does not deceive.
A rock is just a rock.
Exactly, a storm is a storm.
Oh.
All things and phenomena in nature represent the ultimate objective truth. So the advice is to stop listening to the fleeting chatter of what people say and start paying attention to the immutable laws of what the universe is actually doing.
Okay, so if we throw out human philosophy and just look at a tree or a bird, what is the first major takeaway? Like, what is the first lesson of this wordless book?
The absolute immutability of life's trajectory.
Immutability, meaning it cannot change.
Right. If you observe nature, you see that the inherent nature and path of every single life form are predetermined from the very day it is born. A pine tree cannot become an oak tree, no matter how hard it tries.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A bird cannot attend a seminar and decide it wants to live underwater. We accept this for nature, but the argument here is that humans, despite our intelligence and our ability to build skyscrapers, are fundamentally no different from those other life forms.
Which means our lives are completely mapped out.
Exactly. From the moment of your birth, your entire life's trajectory, your merits, your fortunes, your misfortunes, it is all completely predetermined.
Wait, all of it?
All of it. Trying to change this destiny is framed as being just as impossible as trying to retroactively choose your own parents. Or, deciding you'd rather be born in the 18th century. It simply cannot be done.
Okay, I have to push back on this.
Go for it.
Because to a modern listener, embracing your fate sounds an awful lot like just giving up. It sounds incredibly passive. Let's say you're out on the water and you find yourself in a leaky boat.
Okay.
If your fate is predetermined, do you just accept it, cross your arms, and let the boat sink? Or do you grab a bucket and start bailing water to change your destiny?
That's a great analogy, but let's reframe how we look at that leaky boat based on the text. The philosophy isn't advocating for passive physical surrender in the face of danger.
It's not.
No, it's talking about the internal psychological reality of acceptance versus resistance. If you are in the leaky boat, accepting your fate means accepting the truth. I am a leaky boat. This is my reality right now.
Okay.
You grab the bucket and bail water because bailing water is the natural response to a leak. What you don't do is sit there screaming at the sky, furious that you aren't on a luxury cruise ship.
So the resistance to the reality is what causes the suffering, not the reality itself.
Precisely. What's fascinating here is how directly this contrasts with our modern societal obsession. We are constantly sold the idea of making your own destiny.
Right. You can be anything. Hustle your way to the top.
Exactly. But think about the anxiety that causes. If you could be anything and you aren't currently a billionaire astronaut, you feel like a failure.
The paradox of choice. You're exhausted because you're constantly fighting the current of the
Yeah,
river.
exactly. When people refuse to accept their fundamental reality, when they try to force a destiny that isn't naturally theirs, it leads to impatience, anger, resentment, and ultimately calamities and setbacks.
Wow.
But when you accept your destiny, it leads to deep contentment. It breeds adaptability, understanding, and even spiritual enlightenment. You stop fighting the river and start learning how to navigate its rapids smoothly.
Okay, but if my fate is set and I'm just navigating the river I was placed in, how do I actually make decisions day to day?
What do you mean?
Like, am I just a robot executing a pre-written program? If I can't change my overall trajectory, what is my operating system for choosing what job to take or, what to do on a Saturday?
Your operating system becomes following your nature. This is the core mechanism for how to live out that predetermined fate.
Following your nature.
Yes, to follow your nature simply means doing what you genuinely, authentically like. But here's a catcher. Almost no one actually does this. Following true nature is incredibly rare because we are constantly bound by external forces and social conditioning.
Right, things like supporting a family, legal constraints, worrying about what the neighbors think, or trying to look good on LinkedIn.
Yes, exactly. But there's a very sharp, crucial distinction made here between true nature and societal desires.
Hmm.
This is where people get incredibly confused about what they actually want.
This part blew my mind because if you ask someone what they desire, they might say, I want a luxurious mansion and a staff of servants. And they genuinely believe that is their human nature wanting comfort. But this framework says no, that is not your true nature at all.
Yeah.
That is vanity, that is ego, that is just you absorbing and reflecting the values of the capitalist society around you.
Right. And since that societal structure is built on human knowledge, which we've established is viewed as garbage,
Desires are garbage too.
they are manufactured. True nature is internal and entirely unconditioned by an audience.
The examples given in the text for true nature are so delightfully specific. It points out that following your true nature is wanting to sing folk songs out on the street in the middle of the night and just doing it.
Yep.
Or, on a scorching hot day, deciding you want to commute completely naked and just being able to do that.
Obviously, commuting naked has legal ramifications in our current society.
Yeah, please don't do that.
But the metaphor is powerful. Those examples brilliantly illustrate the difference between authentic, innate impulses and manufactured goals. Singing at midnight doesn't earn you a promotion, doesn't look good on a resume.
It's just pure, unfiltered joy.
Exactly. It's about being able to distance yourself from what you're supposed to want and just be close to who you actually are.
Which flies in the face of every self-help book ever written. Self-help is entirely based on imitation. Wake up at 4 a.m. like this CEO. Invest like this billionaire.
And that leads to a very strict rule laid out in this philosophy. You must not imitate others or take them as role models.
Oh, interesting.
Because if your trajectory is predetermined and your nature is entirely unique to you, then trying to be someone else is a literal waste of your existence. People who are exceptionally high achievers possess innate talents and specific missions for their lives.
So you can't just copy their morning routine and expect the same results.
Right, those invisible innate qualities cannot be learned or copied. You can never become someone else.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? It means looking at your own unique quirks, the things you genuinely enjoy doing that have zero societal prestige attached to them, and recognizing that those aren't distractions from your real work. That is your actual nature trying to express itself.
But this naturally leads to a problem.
Oh.
If you shouldn't be chasing mansions, and you shouldn't be imitating successful role models, where do you direct your energy? If you're just sitting around being uniquely yourself, what is the actual output of your life?
Oh, I see. What are we supposed to be doing?
The answer provided is incredibly clear. The focus must be on creation.
Learning to create. Because everything we see around us in the natural world is created, and creation is framed as the ultimate source of joy and vitality.
Yes, there is a hierarchy of enjoyment being established here. Material pleasure, the mansions, the sports cars, the luxury brands, is positioned as empty, secondary, and fleeting.
Just totally hollow.
Right. True, sweet happiness comes entirely from spiritual and mental enjoyment. And the primary engine for that kind of mental enjoyment is the act of creation, bringing something out of nothing.
There's a fascinating, almost sci-fi reference used to illustrate this point. The author brings up the super celestials of the Celestial Islands continent.
Yeah, that part is wild.
Now, without getting bogged down in the specific cosmology or literal interpretation of that, what is the author actually getting at with this imagery?
It's being used as an archetype, basically. The ultimate ideal of a creator. These highly elevated hypothetical beings are masters of creation. They manifest infinite vitality simply through the power of creative thinking.
Wow.
They don't consume to feel joy. They generate. That's the ideal we are supposed to be aiming for in our own human way.
And the ultimate enemy of that creative ideal is the societal trend, the hustle. There is a massive warning here against chasing trends. Trends are forceful, they are loud, they sweep everyone up, but they ultimately turn into bubbles.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of our modern lives, think about the endless waves of societal pressure, the trend of everyone needing to buy a house to feel successful,
Yeah.
the trend of farmers abandoning the countryside to rush into overcrowded cities, college students desperately clamoring to become civil servants or corporate middle managers because it's seen as a safe, prestigious path. It's just one exhausting wave after another.
And if you don't settle down, if you don't anchor yourself in your own weird, unique nature and focus on your own creative output, you get swept away.
Exactly.
The end result of chasing those trends isn't success. It is what is explicitly called a bubble life. A life that looks big and shiny and impressive on the outside, but the second it gets poked by reality, it popes. It's completely hollow on the inside.
But standing firm against those massive societal waves, choosing not to chase the big house, the flashy car, the safe corporate job, that requires an unbelievable amount of power.
Oh, for sure. The pressure to conform is immense.
Right. So where does a person find the strength to live this independent, creative life?
Which brings us to the mandate for the lifelong accumulation of energy. But we have to be very careful here because energy is redefined just like desire was.
Right. It's not what you think.
This isn't physical stamina, it's not your bank account balance, and it is certainly not meticulously networking to build social connections.
True energy is your personal character. It's your inner depth. It's your actual, tangible survival capabilities.
And this leads to one of the most provocative, uncomfortable claims in the whole framework. Relying on the external world to support you through life, aging, and illness is considered a massive gamble.
A huge gamble.
Relying on the nation, relying on the government, relying on corporate pensions, or even expecting your future generations to take care of you is called an illusory and beautiful mirage.
It demands total self-reliance based on character and capability.
Okay, wait, I have to stop and wrestle with this because this goes against the entire social contract. We are told to pay into the system, build a safety net, trust in Medicare or Social Security.
Sure, that's the narrative.
If I get hit by a bus and get a massive hospital bill, my inner character doesn't pay the surgeon. How can relying on society be an illusion when society literally builds the hospitals?
It's a very valid pushback, but let's look at the logic. Placing your fundamental sense of security in external systems that are run by humans. Humans who, remember, are prone to deception and operating on flawed knowledge is inherently fragile.
Because systems collapse.
Yes. Economies crash. Policies change. The framework isn't saying hospitals don't exist. It's saying that relying on human moral and ethical values to guarantee you a good life is a beautiful bubble.
Oh, I see.
If the system fails, and your entire identity and survival were staked on it, you are destroyed. The only thing that guarantees a worry-free life, psychologically and practically, is your own adaptable personal ability. Your locus of control must be entirely internal.
Ah, so it's about not outsourcing your peace of mind. Okay, I can wrap my head around that. And to build that kind of bulletproof internal energy, we are introduced to the concept of lifelong diligence.
Yes. And this is another intensely demanding requirement.
Intensely demanding is an understatement.
Yeah.
It explicitly says that whether you are 30, 40, 70, or 80 years old, you should absolutely never allow the thought, I can enjoy life now, into your head.
Never.
Never. So what? There's no retirement? We never got to just rest on our laurels, move to Florida, and hit the golf course.
That is the modern dream, isn't it? Work hard for 40 years so you can finally stop doing anything. But think about what actually happens to a lot of people when they retire.
Right.
The psychological decline, the depression, the loss of purpose. The diligence being talked about here isn't about grinding at a corporate job until you drop dead.
Right, because grinding for a paycheck would be chasing a trend, which is a bubble life.
Exactly. The diligence is entirely internal. It is the continuous, relentless effort to learn, explore, and contemplate. The author quotes an ancient concept. I hear the Tao in the morning, and I die content in the evening.
Wow.
The goal is to constantly elevate the realm of your life into deeper, broader, multidimensional time and space. We know from modern neuroscience about neuroplasticity, the brain needs constant challenge to thrive.
Use it or lose it.
Right. If you just clock out at 65 to sit on the couch and watch cable news for the next 20 years, your inner energy stagnates. You stop reading the wordless book of nature. You essentially begin to decay before you're even dead.
To maintain that level of lifelong learning, though, across 80 or 90 years, you have to remain incredibly teachable. You have to wake up every day assuming you don't actually know everything yet, which brilliantly brings us full circle right back to the beginning, the warning that human knowledge is flawed.
Yes. The final major principle is the absolute necessity of maintaining an open mindset. Because of history, culture, and our upbringing, we all have these ideas deeply embedded in our consciousness that we blindly accept as undeniable truths.
And the historical examples used to prove how dangerous these truths are, well, they are stark.
Very stark.
It points out that there were eras where the horrific practice of women binding their feet was considered entirely natural, beautiful, and morally correct.
Right.
There were eras where dictating that men wear braids was the law, or where society erected literal monuments, virtuous arches, to dictate and control the behavior of married women. It even reminds us that in certain periods, unmarried men and women simply living together was considered a literal crime.
This raises an important question regarding the things we are defending today. Looking back at those distorted, oppressive perceptions should terrify us, because it implies something very uncomfortable about the present.
That we might be doing the same thing.
Exactly. The things we most staunchly defend right now, the societal rules we are most outraged about today, might actually be the most ignorant things of all.
The evolution of civilization is an ongoing, messy process. Humanity hasn't reached the finish line of enlightenment. We are still actively progressing away from ignorant prejudice. Therefore, what is universally accepted by the majority today, when viewed from the perspective of humans hundreds of years in the future, will likely be recognized as completely laughably wrong.
And conversely, what society overwhelmingly considers taboo or incorrect today may be proven absolutely right tomorrow.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because if you realize society is often wrong, your first instinct is to become a rebel. You want to fight it. You want to argue on the internet. But there is a very specific instruction given here. Do not condemn or attack the present irrational phenomena you see around you.
Which is incredibly difficult to do when you see something you think is wrong.
Right.
But follow the logic. If all knowledge that represents future civilization looks irrational and unreasonable to people living in a period of ignorance, then you cannot entirely trust your own outrage. Decades or centuries from now, people will look back and realize that the very thoughts, actions, and people we try to attack today were actually the most rational, civilized phenomena of our time.
That's a humbling thought.
So as a human being, your job isn't to be the moral police. You just have to maintain a totally open mindset. Observe the wordless book, learn from it, but do not attack.
Step back, stop judging, build your inner character. Follow your weird, authentic, true nature without imitating anyone, and focus your energy on creating rather than consuming. So, where does all of this actually lead us? If someone adopts this entire framework, what is the ultimate purpose?
The ultimate goal of navigating these teachings, whether it's cultivating your upbringing, practicing deep self-restraint, or elevating your emotional, intellectual, and spiritual quotients, is highly practical on a day-to-day level.
Okay.
It allows a person to perfectly and smoothly handle the endless, exhausting trivialities of daily life. When you aren't fighting the river, you become unbothered by the chaos of society.
And mastering this profound subject doesn't just make your Tuesday commute easier. Ultimately, it leads to completing your human journey perfectly, allowing for what is described as the sublimation of life to heaven.
Yes.
It ensures you don't waste your incredibly unique, predetermined existence trying to be a copy of someone else. It allows you to make the absolute most of your journey in this human world.
It is a radical reimagining of what success actually is. It's not wealth, it's not societal approval, and it's not a luxury mansion. It is a perfect, harmonious alignment with your own unchangeable nature and the reality of the universe.
It really is. So we'll leave you with this final thought to mull over as you go about your day. Look around at the deeply held beliefs, the strict laws, and the intense moral outrages that are dominating our society right now. Based on the assertion that today's undeniable truths are tomorrow's historical embarrassments, what is one universally accepted fact that you currently hold dear? That a human living 200 years from now might look back on as an absurd, irrational prejudice.
It's a question that requires a truly open mind to answer.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep reading the book without words.